you want an exposure to a market or an
Everything they need in one place.
Be the world's foremost authority on
Individuals, advisors and institutions. Hello and welcome to the Morningstar series Ask the Expert. I'm Emma Wall and here with me today is Patrick O'Sullivan, Director for Reddington. Hello Patrick.
Hi Emma.
So it seems there's been some changes in the pensions industry and the onus is a lot more on the individual rather than the state or the employer to take responsibility for the future of our retirement. Are we doing enough?
That's really kind of the core of what we've found when we did our age of responsibility report, that in this new world, actually, are people saving enough? Is the policy guidance out there and what employers are doing enough to make sure that people are actually going to have a comfortable level of income in retirement? And that's absolutely right. I think we looked at some numbers which says, and you can look at a variety of different things, that the savings rate at the moment within the UK is kind of close to about 5%. Auto-enrolment is a policy measure that's been put in place, as you know, which will get to about 8% savings rate by 2018. But actually we think the number needs to be closer to around 15%. For someone, and that's throughout their life for their savings for their retirement. If they haven't had any savings and they've got 10 years to go, it's a different number, but it's likely to be higher than that number.
And that's because pensions now, the majority of workplace pensions and indeed personal pensions, the income you get at the end is determined by what you put in during your working life. It's defined contribution pensions rather than defined benefit, where the income you get in retirement was based on the figure that, the wage when you retired, which means that, if you just do some quick sums, you could get away with not making that many contributions and still have quite a nice pension, whereas that's not the case anymore.
Absolutely right, yeah. So the big shift, it's really interesting. There's a huge emphasis and interest in pensions recently because of really the March 2014 budget and how political it's all become. But actually the big shift that's happened has been the shift away from the final salary type of pension schemes, which you mentioned, the defined benefit pension schemes, into DC, which has started since I think DB probably peaked around in the 70s, and since then it's been coming down. And certainly DC for all kind of new pensions or pensions entitlements is definitely the mainstay. And that shift really has been that shift from the employer to the individual. And in that, absolutely you're right, in that context, people, or certainly the employers, don't have that onus to create that income in retirement. However, as a society, our social norms, our social convention are still built on that. If I work 40 years for somewhere, or if I work 40 years and I pay my taxes, do what I should be doing, at the end there'll be a pension for me, either from the state, a reasonable pension, plus also an employer's pension. And that culture, that convention isn't there anymore with the demise of these final salary defined benefit schemes.
So is it as simple as just saving more earlier?
Unfortunately, that is, I'd love to say there's a silver bullet to this, but by far, you can do the fanciest investment strategies and most sophisticated things and dynamically manage it and call markets perfectly. But unfortunately, if you're not putting in enough and not putting in enough early enough, it's no matter what you do on the investment side, it might not create that comfortable level of income in retirement.
And you mentioned there the 15% savings rate. That's based on what 15% of your annual income needs to be put into a pension. Is that you who has to sacrifice 15%, or is that you, the employer, and the state combined is 15%? Yeah,
so that's another great question. What we've tried to do in certainly in the report, and the message that Lord Hutton gave out of this report is actually call for a bit of a consultation and exactly what shape should that be in. I think we put out a number there, 15%, to really start the debate and welcome and then a consultation on well, how much should that come from the individual, how much from the employer, how much from the state.
And what do you say to people who just can't see a way of sacrificing any more of their household budget towards that kind of long-term savings goal?
Yeah, well, listen, it's very difficult. We have some behavioural research in our report which talks about how difficult saving is in general, because it's passing up the chance to consume and spend and instant gratification. It's even more difficult when you're talking about a pension, which is saving for something that's going to happen in 30 years' time, if you're young, and might happen for 40 years. And it's very hard to see exactly what it is. And so with that, people need to be helped, and they need to be helped either through policy, and auto-enrolment is a step to doing that. By I think at the end of next year, all employers will have a pension scheme in place for their employees, and that's a step. That's getting people to contribute something. Obviously, that will build up over time. But there has to probably be a bit of change in social norms, really, to get people to save. I'm not sure of your parents exactly. My parents had defined benefit schemes, so they didn't have to really talk about their pension. It was something that wasn't in the kitchen table because it was something that was going to be taken care of. And so, as a society, we don't really talk about how much we're contributing. We don't talk about with our friends how much we're saving for retirement, how long we're going to live. And so all of that kind of social convention needs to be changed. And that's responsibility of the media, responsibility of us within the industry, and everyone really, to try to kind of develop those things and break some of those taboos.
Patrick, thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma.
This is Emma Wall from Morningstar. Thank you for watching.